We are stoked.
I'm a terrible sore loser. I don't follow the rules.
All the bearded guys seem to lie.
There are rumors galore.
I am so up and down on my emotions right now.
Retain salad.
Okay. Where there is smoke, there is always fire, etc., etc., etc.
You don't do it.
Been there, done that.
And we'll get into it later.
They know crap about hockey.
Come on. Well, I laugh it off.
I have no issue.
Here's the thing, though. I have nothing to do.
I'm okay with this deal.
There was no other option.
So now you have nothing.
We already blew it.
Win now, win now.
It paid off.
I will eat my pants.
Hey guys, it's Two Guys in Hockey Talk. I'm Pawel the Cat, and
I'm revingev. Evan Renner's coming at you with episode 18, season 3. Guys, like, share, subscribe, follow us because we are awesome.
We're pretty rad. I mean, a question about your radness, given that you don't have a beard. And
what are you talking about, man? I've given you a 2-week sample today. This is my you just can't see it. This is why everyone says, well, grow a beard. My 2 weeks, you can see here, it's just like, I look more like Santa starting with a training beard. So I did this, and I just want to say this. We're going to talk about this in just a sec. I used to do Movember. I'd grow the big stash, and I thought, you know what? In light of Bell Talks Mental Health Day, I thought it'd be very important. I remember talking about men's mental health with Movembers, and I thought today is the only day you guys are getting this. So now you go back to episode 18, and you'll see why Evan is not growing a damn beard, man.
Well, then we need to add like some special effects and like put one on you, like those Snapchat filters that they have, and just put your face right in the center so that we actually have. But enough.
I know everyone says we have a beard fetish. I was going to say, I could be like Bad Boys, you know, when he says he actually colors it. I was thinking I could have just colored it for today. And you guys go, man, that's pretty thick for like 2 weeks, you know. But look at my buddy here. He's growing in to Brent Burns. I'm ready to pull that thing.
I just needed like a slow cooker, and then I'm set, you know, and maybe get a little hair braid, you know, join the Viking show like he was on, and then I'll feel like I'm right like Brett Burns, right?
All
so
right.
Grab your bevy.
Got it.
Get ready. We got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. There's a lot going on. So clink. So Evan, there's a lot going around in the NHL, but the first thing we kind of want to acknowledge, which we've talked about on the show before, is mental health and just the impact mental health on players, on scouts, on coaches, on fans even, you know, when they live and breathe their teams and they ride with the high and then they feel upset when it's low. You know, I'm not calling out anybody, but Edmonton and Philly, you know what we're feeling now, you know. but take us through a little bit. So we want to acknowledge and recognize mental health. It's very important. We want to make sure that people get connected to the proper resources. And we're happy to share them if you're looking for them. There's a lot of resources in your community, in your province or state, in your countryside. You just got to connect with those services that are in that area. You know, each area is different, whether it's counseling, whether it's managing your physical health, you know, taking time to enjoy yourselves. We love hockey, but we know that we got to take a break sometimes and just take some me time.
Yeah.
But what do you want to share?
Well, and you know, and I just want to add on to what Pawel's talking about, everyone. You know, when we're talking, I mean, there's great leaders now on the ice. And we see it, and it's so good to see it from the highest level in the NHL with someone like Robin Leonard, right? I mean, regardless of what was happening in the NHL, he was going to take a bye on the Olympics, right? And because he was more concerned about his mental health. What if he's stuck in COVID protocols and he doesn't see his family or he doesn't see his supports? And he is so good at advocating. I'm shocked he puts himself on social media. But Jonathan Drouin, he's been out there mentioning it. You were talking, someone recently, Bobby Ryan.
Bobby Ryan dealing with some stuff. Yeah. But, coming through and having a bit of a career last season, he's not playing this year in the NHL, but, making an impact, Carey Price going through what he did and, having the courage to step away from the game, which is a big deal, right? Especially as big of a name as Carey is. But every player has to deal with this. Yeah. It's an incredible honor and joy to play on the world's biggest stage. But at the same time, sometimes you need time for yourself to recuperate. Exactly. There's a lot of history, mental health and illness. We've talked about Theo Fleury in his book and Playing with Fire, what he experienced and how he got through it. Many, many stories.
I was going to say, I think and you guys, mention in the comments some of your thoughts just around mental health, ideas, even if you got stories or links to stuff, share it with one another, please, just right down there in the comments. But what kind of got me thinking is, and I mentioned this to James Villette when we were on Twitter and said, okay, so I am really glad that we see so much awareness for mental health, and Bell Talks did a great job. But my concern is that some people are getting so wrapped up with the advertisement for Bell, and there's a lot of things that happen. I mean, I'm not about that. You know what? It brought better awareness to professional people like athletes and actors and people who are in the limelight that deal with high scrutiny. I think their mental health is even more affected because we all see it on an ongoing basis. But I remember the Movembers, right? I remember people would say, well, why are you growing a mustache? There's different names that they call them, like porn stash, and I could grow a nice stash.
You mean the Matthews?
yeah, exactly, right. And then there was, I remember Nuge, Ryan Nugent Hopkins. It's like baby Nuge can't grow a mustache, 10 years later, and but. Now they've kind of moved away, and I get it, times change. But one of the things I liked about it, for example, I was playing beer league, and one of our regular guests that come on and contributor on our Facebook page and stuff, Aaron Singleton. We used to always deal with this, but with our beer league. So when we were in a beer league, men's rec leagues and stuff like that. And one of the things that I appreciated is it really opened up, because people say, well, why are you doing that? Because no one knew. And so we'd say, well, actually, and then we go on to explain a little bit more. And so I remember raising money on our blogs. Actually, Brent Huska, another one of our contributors and regular guests that comes on, we'd raise money. We didn't raise much. I might raise. I remember one time I donated $100, so it looked like someone gave me $100 towards it, just to make it look good at the beginning, and then I added more. But okay, listen, today I went a little further. Anyway, I think grassroots is good. I went further onto Twitter. Everyone loves Twitter, right? Haley Wickenheiser, this is what she writes. I'm just going to actually read from an article that one of her tweets. She says, my 6-year-old niece got COVID a few days ago. She was devastated, not because she was sick, because she felt she let her mom and dad down. Listen, then she goes on and says, our kids are having a hard time. Bell, let's talk. There was something about this, but now watch this. Now, another person out there, Tracy talks about, she says, we just had this discussion with our wellness committee. There's a reluctance to share if you get sick after being so diligent. Feelings like you failed. So she says, hugs to your niece. Now, watch this. Talk about harsh on mental health and during COVID. Someone now responds, and I know it's Twitter, guys, the Twitter wars. It says, that's on the parents who probably never discussed the COVID world we live in. Hopefully they're proactive now. Another one, how the kid deals with the pandemic is resolved around how the parents handle it. This is what goes wrong and how mental health is affected. I'm going to ask you guys, when you post on Twitter, be nice. You can banter. I'm asking for sportsmanship when you're on Twitter and you're talking with the hockey folks and stuff, because think about it. You don't know how that's going to affect someone. And think of those kids. Are they going to grow up in that kind of world where they're feeling bad? And then how about parents? They're shamed, and if they're struggling already, where does that send them? Anyway, that's just a serious note. I think that we need to, and it got me even thinking, I think that in some of our, groups and discussions, I want you guys to know that Pawel and I can banter and have fun with each other. But in the end, I love the old guy.
Okay, well, first off, I'm not old, but okay.
Well,
Second off, don't think that we drown our pain with liquor, because this is non-alcoholic. As I'm taking a break,
and there's no
break to have.
And there's no rye in here.
So you have to be mindful, and I wanted to agree with what you said with the way that young kids, because I am old, and to take back and make it so that you're right. Is kids are living in a world of social media can define or be a very defining feature of their lives. And so we have to be mindful and conscientious of how that will impact how they grow up, how they perceive the world, and how they build self-esteem and relate to others and socialize. So not to get into a soapbox, but it definitely can influence how sports are played and viewed, and we definitely saw it, when people were very harsh on Mitch Marner a few years ago after the playoffs, and how everyone just kind of jumped on him, and he became the scapegoat for why they didn't make it. And remember that it's a team effort, and these are human beings with feelings and emotions, and they go through all the things. And again, to this day, people complain about millionaire hockey players, but never complain about the billionaire owners, right? Nothing against billionaire owners, just no one ever complains about them, losing any money. So it definitely is food for thought. We encourage people to be respectful, kind. We expect the same of our fans and on our pages. We won't tolerate any kind of poor behavior, because that is not for us. We're here to have.
No unsportsmanlike conduct on our pages.
Well,
No, man, you're in the sin bin. You do that, man. You're in the sin bin.
I'm just saying people can tell you you're wrong and that you don't know anything about hockey. Otherwise, I completely agree. Yeah. But so it's definitely food for thought. It's good to recognize and it's good to acknowledge. So mental health, make sure you're taking care of yourself and the ones around you. Make sure your friends are taken care of. And one of the best ways to do it is watch some hockey or other sports if you're into it. And, you're seeing it in a lot of other sports. You saw it with Simone Biles in the Olympics, with gymnastics. Many other sports, whether it's tennis, football, soccer, baseball, you're seeing it. And I'm happy to see that there's a shift in the sport and there's more of an acceptance of understanding that people need a break sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Pawel. All right, now that the cat has clawed his way through that discussion, we are going to move over and talk. Did I say it or did I say it, guys? I was telling you, Patrick Elvin would be. I know, I love to brag. Patrick, at some reason, I know a lot about the Canucks, and yet I follow them very little. But anyway, Patrick, you know what? This is what I've learned. It's not about just where there's smoke, there's fire, but where there's good relational connections. Don't you notice people hire people who they know a little bit more, even if they're not the right hire?
Well, we can't say if they're the right hire or not right now.
Well, no. I'm talking about our discussion from last week. Ken Holland, Dave Tippett, Bob Nicholson. Anyway, so that's last week's discussion. Go back to episode 17. Make sure you follow. By the way, subscribe. You can follow us right now also over on YouTube if you choose. Make sure you subscribe and it'll come right to you, and or follow us here so it'll come right to you for our live. But anyway, let's go and make a slight change. An assistant general manager. So make sure, I could be getting her name wrong, how I say it. So it's Emily Castonguay.
Okay. We apologize if we're butchering that name.
Yeah. And so, Emily, you know what? If we're doing it wrong or a family member, you let us know in our comments. You send us an email.
Come on the show and tell us the correct pronunciation. We have a few other questions. Yeah.
Send us an email to twoguyshockey@gmail.com. And we will bring you on the show and you can correct us. Yes. Sounds good. So anyway, congratulations, assistant general manager. Big deal, man. Big deal.
Yeah, big changes coming to Vancouver. And Congratulations to Emily and Patrick. That's a big hire. Patrick being the first Swedish GM in the NHL, so definitely thinking outside the box. That history he has with Jim Rutherford in Pittsburgh has helped. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, no, I was going to say, I just want to mention so everyone understands, Emily is the only woman certified as a player agent. She's a sports agent. For the National Hockey League Players Association. So I think this is going to go a long ways, and also in helping in the negotiations, understanding. Brian Lawton shared a lot about his experience as an agent and working in the general manager role. Really, really helpful.
Yeah, and one of the players that she represented for a while there was Anton Roussel, who now is in Chicago, but had been traded from Vancouver, and he had nothing but praises and positive positive feelings towards how she ran her business, how she approached things, and how happy he was with her not only becoming the assistant GM, but also being his representative for a while there beforehand. So congratulations to her. We wish her nothing but the best. It's exciting. I think she's supposed to be sometime next week in Vancouver to get off the ground and start working. I think the big thing for Canucks now is what they're going to do before the trade deadline. Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? It's definitely an interesting question given how their season has gone so far, struggling at the beginning. Now they've been on a bit of a roll. Bruce, there it is. They've lost the last one versus Edmonton last night. So, I was very happy. I jumped off the couch when Ryan McLeod scored, and it spooked my cats. So
Spencer Martin, man. Hats off. What a guy. And so good for getting that chance and that opportunity. By the way, Connor McDavid actually had played with him in junior for a couple of years. So, everyone gets a chance for a different reason. Right, David Ayers? Okay. Well, hey, since we're talking about the assistant general manager, I was wanting to talk, and we mentioned it in prepping for tonight. We wanted to talk about women getting so much more involved in the hockey scene. So we'll talk around some of the basics. So I have a bunch of different people I just want to bring to people's attention, because I don't think you guys actually see this that often. And maybe this is something where every few days we could highlight someone else that's working in hockey, different women, because I don't think they still get the attention that people should know this. So for example, Kim Davis, she is the highest ranking Black executive in the NHL's league office. In fact, right after she got the job, that's when the whole diversity thing had started up during the time of COVID here, which put her into the limelight right away. But good on Kim. Like that's high pressure to come into.
Yeah. It's very impressive what she's been able to do and accomplish. And I know she was interviewed a while back on 31 Thoughts, or 32 Thoughts now. And, great addition to the Los Angeles Kings organization. Lots of success there. And I wish her nothing but the best. I actually am surprised she didn't become the first AGM. I thought she would have taken that step there, given her record. We have to acknowledge the role that women are playing in the world of hockey, and getting more involved in NHL, and more so just being active. And hopefully this pave ways for more women in the future who consider an opportunity to be in an executive role, or even in a head coach role. Anything is possible, right? So it's exciting. And I do hope with the All-Star weekend coming up that they can represent, again, a few more women in some of the competitions. I think that was fun a few years back, when they competed, and, they gave Connor McDavid, and I believe it was, who else was it? Matthew Barzal, a bit of a scare for the fastest competition, or fastest skater, and so it'll be exciting.
Let me name a few people just for you guys out there. NHL Players Association Director of Player Health and Safety, Maria Dennis. Heidi Browning is the social media strategist. Blake Bolden was named the Kings NHL Pacific, their Pacific region scout. She was the first Black woman to be a pro scout, by the way, with an NHL organization. And the second woman after Cami Granado for the Seattle Kraken. Who else is there? There's Lindsay Arkin. She's an NHL Coaches Association president. We have Kendall Cone Schofield, who, by the way, is going to be the Team USA captain, but she's also Chicago Blackhawks player development coach and their youth hockey growth specialist. There's a general manager, by the way, for SC Bern. Her name is Florence Schelling. She's a general manager over in for the SC Bern in the Swiss League. And then, of course, everyone knows about Haley Wickenheiser, who is the assistant director of player development. There's Valerie Camelo. She's actually the Philadelphia Flyers president of business operations. Jamie Faulkner, ready guys? Chicago Blackhawks president of business operations. Megan Hunter, Chicago Blackhawks director of hockey admin and their amateur scout. Come on, let's get some good guys. Chicago needs to rebuild. Haley Moore, get this, American Hockey League vice president of hockey operations. So she's working with Scott Housen down in the AHL. And then the first for the United States Hockey League, this is just some I'm just nailing off to you guys. The first Chicago Steel, she's an assistant GM down there, who is Noelle Needham. So, man, and there's about 10, 11 others that I have lists of. So I was thinking that what I might do on our Facebook page is every once in a while, let's highlight some of them. I'll put them up there for you guys, just, so that I think they deserve recognition.
100%. So. And if you guys have anyone that you want to recognize or identify as being an influential woman in hockey in your lives or in your communities, we happily want to see them. So write it down below, let us know in the comments, and share, because we definitely want to highlight their accomplishments.
Hey, what I want to do though, I want to go back to Emily with the assistant GM now. I found an article, guys. I gotta bring this article up to you. So, okay, you ready? So, there's some fun facts about this new assistant general manager. She is one of the most powerful women in hockey, and her late sister predicted that she would manage the Canucks. Do you believe that?
Wow. That's a bold prediction.
And that was 10 years ago. Her sister passed away. So that's really cool. Thomas Drance brought that out, one of the media guys for The Athletic. So that's really cool. And you always got to wonder, because, by the way, she has a French background, her French language and stuff. So, who knows, could that maybe be your next female first general manager in the National Hockey League for the Montreal Canadiens? Sorry, Ken Hughes, I'm already replacing you. So, okay, she also played hockey against boys until university. So growing up through the high school and everything. She was the second female assistant general manager, of course, now in NHL history. Because the first one is Angela Gorgon of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, if some of you guys didn't know that. Then also, the former Habs general manager convinced her to be an agent. So Pierre Gauthier, he actually convinced her to be agent. And she set multiple firsts just as a player agent. She was the first woman to be certified. It was momentum, and there's all these other little things. So, and she represented the first overall pick, Alexei Lafreniere, just a couple years ago. So that's just really cool, fun facts I think about. So, you know what? I'm excited about the Vancouver Canucks, regardless of what's on the ice. I just think that the feel around the team, the culture, it's getting a fresh feel and good on Vancouver. Happy for them.
100%. There's a bright future there in that organization, and they have a bright young cast of players that I think will take over. And to add to that, they still have, of course, the Sedins and Stan Still involved in some capacity, which will allow them to come together and have that unity. And I think with any team, Evan, you can agree, with any leadership team, when you have a variety of people with that experience and extensive resumes, they all bring something to the table, and there's that room is full of knowledge and insight, right?
So I do feel bad, because I'm really worried. My prediction that the Sedins will come the first general managers, because I can't see them doing it with anybody but Vancouver, and Vancouver went pretty young now, and I think their future looks bright. So chances if the Sedins are going to get in, they're at least 5 years away. So
what about Chicago? Do you think they go there?
Oh yeah. To ruin the franchise. Oh man. Hey, well, what about those Olympics? What do you yeah, I mean, we got some interesting what have you been seeing? Who are some of the players you're seeing in some of the lineups of countries that you're interested in?
So I mean, we went through this whole thing of predicting who would potentially play, and went on this bender with all these episodes. And you're more than welcome to watch, because it was fun predicting at a time where we thought
you know what.
And a friend of the show you mentioned earlier, Brett, had actually ordered a Connor McDavid jersey, I think the black one. So I told him, why didn't he get the Adam Cracknell? He's an Oilers legend who's going to make the lineup. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, there's quite a few unique names. The one name I was surprised kind of not seeing for Canada is Devin Dubnyk for net, but I know Devin Levi is going to make the country proud. You know, Eric Stahl, I feel like he'll be the captain, but you know, he's really getting there. You know, he had a bit of a stunt in Minnesota's farm team, just to kind of get his legs moving, but he's already there. I mean, Shane Doan knows what he's doing, you know, Arizona or Phoenix Coyotes legend. He's going to set up a good team to be successful. There's definitely some unique names and names that I wasn't familiar with, or you would think, oh, they're still playing hockey, you know, but it's a mishmash of characters. So who knows? Now, my prediction, and I think it comes back to what you predicted, is I think that Russia, given that some of the KHL players are going to be going, most likely can take gold or compete for gold. But I mean, it's anyone's game. They're just so early. I think they're up like at 4 or 5 in the morning Pacific time, or Mountain time. Sorry.
So interesting. So the number one scorer in the KHL. So let's just call that would be your superstar. So that's Vadim Shipanov, who actually, So I mean, this is the guy that was Shipanov, not the guy that was supposed to be in Vegas.
Yes.
Was that not the player? Yeah. So I mean, he's been around. He's in his 30s now, just playing fabulous. He's got 67 points in 48 games right now, 1.4 points per game, and he will be dressing up. He will be the number one center for the KHL. And then interesting, this is important because Canada, how many people saw Corbin Knight? So he's a former Flame that didn't play very much, but Corbin Knight has 48 points in 47 games for Omsk over in the KHL. So I was shocked. I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, you got some, some players that have been doing much better. They're playing on international ice surface. But then I saw the number 4 scorer in the KHL, Shafarov, is actually also in there. He's a right wing for Novogorod. And I know I'm probably slaying some of the pronunciations. Patrick, one of our contributors and guests here, he can mention what I'm saying wrong or my facts wrong. No, it's just who were, I'm just trying to think. There was 3-4 other guys that I saw, but I got to tell you something funny. Did you see the report of the players that were going to play for Team Canada? And Connor Bedard, the 16-year-old, was on that list as one of the players?
I think so. Early on, they predicted,
But it was just a joke, I guess. It got sent out. And I got to tell you guys, I was about to post it on our site saying, I can't believe they're playing a 16-year-old. I'm so excited. And then I realized it was it wasn't true.
We'll see how they do. I mean, some of the more high notable players that we just saw play at the World Juniors, Owen Powers and Mason McTavish, both have been elite, and both
that's good.
Both can score, even though one's a defenseman. So, I think Anaheim is very lucky to have Mason McTavish. They have a bright future with that young guy. On top of all the other young prospects they have there with Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras and whatnot. But so it's definitely, like I said, it's a mishmash of players. I'll definitely catch some of the games. I mean, depending on the time of day, if I could break away from work and just take a peek. But some games are so early that I don't know if I'll be able to keep myself up.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that I actually think it's gonna be fairly close, except for I can't see how the KHL is not gonna walk around, and it's literally not really Russia. It's gonna be the KHL, the Russian KHL people that are gonna be in that. I mean, a lot of good, high quality players didn't go, so there was only a select few that actually still went from their behalf. I think about 40% of them would have been regular KHL players. So, but
now
hey,
here's a conspiracy theory that everyone will get behind because I believe it. So, Mr. Sidney Crosby, Sid the Kid, isn't going to the All-Star game. What if we see, a not Sidney Crosby at the Olympics with one of those fake mustache and glasses playing on the ice, and his number's like 86 or 88, just to mess with people, and maybe his name is like Bidney Rosby or something. He plays for Team Canada, right?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! That would be hilarious to see him. Do you think there's going to be people caught in COVID protocol and sitting in China for 2-3 weeks?
No, they reduced the number. So for the Olympics, they were showcasing some of the rules because athletes are already arriving. Okay. They minimized the days, I believe, down to 5 or 6 days as well. So similar to what the U.S. has recently implemented.
Oh, okay.
So there are some limitations. That being said, there's high restrictions for how you can get around, where you can go. You're limited in terms of being able to get out and move around in wherever they're in Beijing, essentially, like wherever you're going in that community. And so they're going to have we all know it's a bit of a police state, so they're going to be very, very conscientious about how people will get out and move around, and they're going to be testing daily. So I'm not saying it's not out of the realm of possibility of athletes getting COVID or having symptoms, but I think they're going to be really good about it.
Okay. No, that's absolutely, that makes sense. It's so good. I mean, when you're hearing that 21 days, and of course they weren't changing anything, giving any new information, which made it a lot harder. It's a difficult one. So
it may be less days, maybe not 5, but from what I recall, I'd have to double check.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, one thing I just wanted to mention to everyone is when you're looking at prospects, so a new prospect to actually be looking at for this year's draft. I'm going to be we will be setting a time aside. So Pawel, I haven't told him this yet, but I'm going to be presenting my Revs 15. Top 15 for our prospects, and we'll take one of our shows to talk about prospects around it, and we'll probably bring another guest on and stuff to have a little discussion. I'll send it to Pawel so we can have a chance to look through some of the players and talk. But there's a guy that's leading the United States Hockey League in the junior league there for the Dubuque Fighting Saints. His name is Stephen Halliday. So it's interesting. He's really, really picked up, but he's 6'4", 234 pounds. So sometimes when they're that big and everyone else is younger, but he's originally from Ajax, Ontario. So he is a Canadian. He's a little bit older going in this year, but he's set for Ohio State. So sometimes these guys, when they're going to the NCAA, teams will want to draft him if they can pick him up in kind of that, 16 to kind of 40 times, the slot in their picks, just because they get a couple more years, 2-3 years of development, right?
Glad you're inviting me to this, because otherwise I wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. And I thought I'd be a good enough only guest. Maybe it's just one guy and just hockey talking to himself.
Okay. So I need some of our regular super fans out there, Oh, by the way, so I'm going to advertise it now. In the next coming weeks, we have a new super fan we're going to introduce. We met on a Facebook page. His name is Sean. So if he's catching our show tonight, we're just letting you know ahead of time. We'll talk more about him later, but he has a bucket list to go to see the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's a fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning, a bucket list and I can't remember the number, but to go to every NHL arena and see the Tampa Bay Lightning play. And he's, I think, been at 16 of them. And he's got a ton of stories of things that have gone around. And so anyway, we're hoping to get him on so we can have some great stories. I got to say, having said that, you've been to some various hockey games. Whether we're talking about anything that's a pro, do you have a hockey story or an experience at a rink in an arena with all the people that it's memorable to you? Do you have something? I'm putting you on the spot, Pawel. I haven't told you. Yeah. Something that stood out to you, a memorable moment in a hockey rink, whether it's with other fan interactions or whether it was with the players or something that happened.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I gotta think of a few. I mean, the one I will say, we went a few weeks back to the Oil Kings game with the teddy bear toss.
Oh yeah.
And to see that live was incredible. To see how they, when they scored the goal, all the teddy bears were thrown. Of course, you had to throw it if you're sitting on one of the sides edges. Into the middle because of the meshing to protect you from the puck. So you would throw it. And so they threw it. The videos look great. I could probably share it. This video of all these teddy bears on the ice and how quickly the ice team cleaned them up. And I was like, wow, this is fast, because there was a lot of them. You could barely see any of the ice except for the center logo of the Oilers logo, because they, what's it called? They had the people there in the middle interviewing the player who had scored the goal, for the teddy bear toss. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'd have to think of some other ones for hockey rinks. I mean, I've seen some, pretty sketchy stuff in local rinks, some parents arguing and getting into some fist fights, and beer being thrown and parents yelling at coaches for their kid not playing on the top line, and definitely taking it to an 11 when they didn't have to. But
how dare you do that? Story? How dare you sit my 7-year-old kid? Well, actually, so one of my earliest games, I lived in Cranbrook, British Columbia, in Canada here. For those, if you're not from Canada, it's on the far west side. And Cranbrook is, by the way, where Rob Niedermeyer came from, Scott Niedermeyer, and Stevie Yzerman. So anyway, so yeah, I did get to see Stevie Yzerman play in his early junior days for the it was for the Cranbrook Colts back then, I believe it was called. But anyway, so they had a men's, the Viv 1, so it's like the Allen Cup group, and the Cranbrook Royals, who I remember Bob Murdoch, for some remember through Calgary and stuff. Bob Murdoch, the end of his career, right? He's playing men's hockey just like Fleury and others did later on, but Bob Murdoch and a whole bunch, they got in this scrap. They were taking on the North Shore Winter Club. I remember this. I was about 14 years old, and the place was packed. It was standing room only. And by the way, standing room didn't mean you're standing on the ends. It actually meant you're standing in the aisles. This is before fire code stuff, I'm sure, or no one cared. And the ref called some bad penalties. You know how everyone calls out, bull, and I'll just say, just because we'll be a PG show, bull crap, right? They didn't say that word crap, and they started yelling it. And then they said, the ref is a, and it was so crazy in there. They're bashing on the sides. The lights went out. They stopped and they canceled the whole game. Everyone then leaves, and it turns out they finished the overtime by themselves. When the crowd left, it was so hostile that night.
Wow.
So everyone's outside now, turning to the local radio stations. And remember, we have transmitter radios back then. It's like a giant cell phone, right? But that is one of the early days when the jersey behind you, that was the first team, right? When I was 10 years old, I started following the Vancouver Canucks back there with King, Richard Brodeur, Thomas Gradine, all those. So that was that first. The NHL moment, I was a Calgary Flame fan growing up in Calgary when the Saddle Dome first came, because I'd moved to Calgary. So I went from a Canucks fan to a Flame fan. And of course, I hated Edmonton. They were always beating on Calgary. Calgary could beat everyone but Edmonton. And I came up with my buddies. They were all adults, and I was the teenager that was 16. And I came up to Northlands Coliseum. And that was one of the nights of the one game. We got scalpers. Everyone's scalping tickets outside, man. I remember that. And I'm like, what? I got to pay an extra $30. So I think we paid, this is in 1984 or 85. We had to pay for these tickets, and it was end of regular season, by the way, not playoffs. We had to pay, I believe, $65 or $70 for scalping tickets in the mid 80s. I mean, these guys, and then they'd say, well, I'm giving you a deal. And so people would literally sell their ticket, they'd buy it, and then they sell it to the next guy. Anyway, that night, I called in, and if you're listening, Bob Stoffer, you called me a liar, and I'm telling you, you got to believe me. Because he asked for something. I called in. He wouldn't let me talk on his show. He talked me offside, and he said, I call bullshit on you, Evan. And he goes, this is what it was. I actually was punched in the face, and my head smashed into the pillar in the top corners because I said, the Oilers suck. And then a guy goes, the Flames suck. And I go, the Oilers. And he just punched me and smashed my head. And I was kind of bleeding up and stuff. And I went to share that story at old Bob. And Bob didn't believe me, but... So now that I have a platform, I'm now sharing that story. And I still became an Oilers fan after that. Can you believe it? So anyway.
No, I can't. I don't believe any of that story. I'm sticking with Bob Stoffer on this one. Something what a Calgary Flames fan would make up.
Oh man. So
have you tried turtling?
Oh man. Well, I guess we should get ready. We'll make this a little bit lighter of a show for you guys here today. Last week we went probably 12-14 minutes over.
A little bit over, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
any last
I
thoughts?
did want to acknowledge one player this week. I know we've been talking about quite a few different things. Joe Pavelski, we talk about what Alexander Ovechkin is doing. Joe Pavelski at 37 in his final year of his contract is putting up numbers like no other. 19 goals and 20 some assists. Remind me, for 48 points and 48 goals. So let's look it up here.
Yeah, I'm looking it up with you.
29 assists and 19 goals for 48 points.
Wow.
Like, that is better than a point per game player. And people said that contract was going to look bad for Dallas. I don't know. They're going to sneak into the playoffs, and that line with Jason Robertson, and he's playing well.
Wow, this is on paper. This is Joe Pavelski's best year in points per game.
And he can beat it for his season high a few years back. So
yeah, I don't think he's going to beat his 38 goals though. 38.
No,
right?
No.
Oh, 38, 41. Yeah. Man, and do we know where he is in his contract?
Final year.
I think he resigns. I've heard a lot of good news about how much he loves Dallas. Yeah,
I could see him sticking in around in Dallas, or I could see him make a quick comeback to San Jose. They have all that cap space now because of Evander Kane. So
yeah, well, and if you guys have been following Carlson, he's on injured reserve. So who knows if that turns into an LTIR also. Man, the money that they're going to be able to collect from definitely they're playing well. You got to wonder if they don't have to give up too much. Could they pick up a player that's just more expensive to end the year to help someone on their cap space to make a different move? So,
and I think we want to let everyone know, March 21st, the trade deadline's coming up. I know it doesn't seem that far off, but it's just around the corner here. So there's definitely going to be some speculation, some thoughts about who is going. So if you have a trade rumor that you think is going to happen, or you want to see a player acquired by your team, write it below. We want to know who you think your team should acquire and or sell. Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to be sellers?
Okay, so you guys ready? This is a team I'm telling you to be looking out for in the next 4 weeks and see what's happening. The Philadelphia Flyers. Ooh. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
And do we think that Claude Giroux is done with them? Do you think he's going to Colorado or Carolina?
Who can take the salary, right? Unless you're going to
they would take half. They would hold on to half.
So to take on to half, and so if anyone you're on Cap Friendly, go check that out. See if that makes actually sense for us. So
I think it'd be about 4.5 to 5 if it's half.
Not bad.
I think it's like something like that. So I mean, he wants to chase the cup. He had an opportunity in 2010, and will he get another opportunity at his age? And he's still contributing and making a big thing. And I think Jamie Baskow, who we had on the show previously, he could probably speak a little bit more to him and about that situation, because he follows the Flyers very closely. So give him a follow if you're a big Flyers fan.
Yeah, maybe we need to get Jamie back on, because he was pretty positive when the year started. And if you've been following him on Twitter, Jamie's like, this team sucks.
Yeah,
this has been a hard one. Yeah, exactly. So, but hey guys, thanks for connecting in, liking. Make sure you follow us here on Facebook Live. If you don't automatically get our feeds, it's because you're not following us on Facebook. So follow us or subscribe on our YouTube so that you can get instantly. It'll come to you, and just have your notifications on, and you're going to know that we're coming live 9:00 every Wednesday night.
So remember to subscribe, like, follow. We love hearing from you guys. And until next time,
in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.